back to Bible quizzes. So today's quiz is about the Old Testament. Let's get started. 1. Joshua saw a burning bush on Mount Horeb. False. Exodus 3, 1-2. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. 2. Naomi returned to Jericho after her husband and sons died. False. Ruth 1:19. So they two, Naomi and Ruth, went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass when they were come to Bethlehem that all the city was moved about them, and they said, Is this Naomi? 3. Abraham sends his servant to find a wife for Isaac in Mesopotamia. True. Genesis 24:10. And the servant took 10 camels of the camels of his master Abraham and departed, for all the goods of his master were in his hand, and he arose and went to Mesopotamia unto the city of Nahor. 4. Jacob renamed Luz to Peniel after his famous dream. False. Genesis 28:19. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city was called Luz at the first. 5. The Lord confused the languages of the whole earth in Babel. True. Genesis 11:9. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. 6. Jacob's new name, Israel, was given by God following a wrestling match. True. Genesis 32:28. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. 7. Isaiah walked barefoot and naked as a sign against Egypt and Ethiopia. True. Isaiah 23. And the Lord said, Like as my servant Isaiah hath walked naked and barefoot 3 years, for a sign and wonder upon Egypt and upon Ethiopia. 8. God commanded Aaron to make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole for the healing of the Israelites. False. Numbers 21:8. And the Lord said unto Moses, Make thee a fiery serpent and set it upon a pole, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, shall live. 9. Orpah and Moabite was King David's great-grandmother. False. Ruth 4:13-17. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife, and when he went unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. 10. Elijah was taken up to heaven in a chariot of fire. True. 2 Kings 2:11. And it came to pass as they still went on and talked that, behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. 11. What turned to blood was God's first plague upon Egypt. Or water turned to blood was God's first plague upon Egypt. True. Exodus 7:17. Thus saith the Lord, in this thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in mine hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned to blood. 12. Before leading Israel, Moses was a shepherd. True. Exodus 3:1. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. 13. Moses throws a rock into the waters of Marah to make them sweet. False. Exodus 15:25. And he, Moses, cried unto the Lord, and the Lord shewed him a tree, which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and ordinance, and there he proved them. 14. Methuselah lived 969 years, making him the oldest person in the Bible. True. Genesis 5:27. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. 15. Ebed-melech intervened to save Jeremiah from the dungeon. True. Jeremiah 38:12-13. And Ebed-melech the Ethiopian said unto Jeremiah, Put now these old cast clouts and rotten rags under thine armholes, under the cords. And Jeremiah did so. So they drew up Jeremiah with cords, and took him up out of the dungeon, and Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison. 16. Jonah was displeased to see Judea spared from destruction. False. Jonah 3:6. For word came unto the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne, and he laid his robe from him, and covered him with sackcloth, and sat in ashes. Jonah 4:1. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was very angry. 17. Purim marks the occasion of Jewish deliverance as told in Esther. True. Esther 9:28. And that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city. And that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. 18. David played a flute for King Saul. False. 1 Samuel 16:23. And it came to pass when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took an harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. 19. While serving as cupbearer, Ezra contributed to Jerusalem's restoration. False. Nehemiah 1:11. O Lord, I beseech thee, let now thine ear be attentive to the prayer of thy servant, and to the prayer of thy servants who desire to fear thy name, and prosper, I pray thee, thy servant this day, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man, for I was the king's Artaxerxes' cupbearer. 20. A donkey spoke to Balaam when an angel blocked the path. True. Numbers 22:27-28. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the donkey with a staff. And the Lord opened up the mouth of the donkey, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? 21. What descended on Mount Sinai when God spoke to Moses? Clouds, fire, water, or light? Fire, Exodus 19:18, and Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. 22. Who was the mother of twins Esau and Jacob? Leah, Sarah, Rachel, or Rebekah? Rebekah, Genesis 25:26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old when she, Rebekah, bare them. 23. Who asked for the wisdom to govern his people? Solomon, David, Saul, or Hezekiah? Solomon, 1 Kings 3:9-10. Give therefore thy servant an understanding to heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? And the speech pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. 24. Where did Elijah have a showdown with the prophets of Baal? Mount Sinai, Mount Zion, Mount Carmel, or Mount Moriah? Mount Carmel, 1 Kings 18:19. Now therefore send and gather to meet Elijah all Israel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves 400, which eat at Jezebel's table. 25. What did God create on the fourth day of creation? Man, lights, beasts, or fishes? Lights, Genesis 1:16-19. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and the evening and the morning were the fourth day. 26. Whose dream involved a statue with a head of gold and feet of iron mixed with clay? Pharaoh, Pharaoh's cupbearer, Nebuchadnezzar, or Pharaoh's baker? Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel 2:28-31-32. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. This image's head was of fine gold, his feet a part of iron and part of clay. 27. Under whose reign was the temple in Jerusalem completed? Hezekiah's rule, David's monarchy, Rehoboam's era, or Solomon's reign? Solomon's reign, 1 Kings 6:14. So Solomon built the house and finished it. 28. What unusual weapon did Shamgar use to kill 600 Philistines? Ox goad, sling stone, jawbone of a donkey, or bronze spear? Ox goad, Judges 3:31. And after him was Shamgar the son of Anath, which slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad, and he also delivered Israel. 29. To whom did God give the dream of a tree that reached heaven and was visible to the ends of the earth? Pharaoh, Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar, or Jacob? Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel 4:10-11. I, Nebuchadnezzar, saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. 30. Which river did Naaman the Syrian dip into to be cleansed from his leprosy? Jordan, Pharpar, Euphrates, or Abana? Jordan, 2 Kings 5:14. Then went he Naaman down, and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh came again like unto the flesh of little child, and he was clean. 31. Whom did Absalom conspire against and declare himself king in Hebron? Saul, David, Solomon, or Joab? David, 2 Samuel 15:10-13. But Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, As soon as ye hear the sound of the trumpet, then ye shall say, Absalom reigneth in Hebron. And there came a messenger to David, saying, The hearts of the men of Israel are after Absalom. 32. Where did Jacob dream of a ladder reaching heaven? Peniel, Hebron, Bethel, or Mamre? Bethel, Genesis 28:19, and he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city was called Luz at the first. 33. What river did Elisha strike with Elijah's mantle to cross? Nile, Cherith, Euphrates, or Jordan? Jordan. 2 Kings 2:13-14. He took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, Where is the Lord God of Elijah? And when he also had smitten the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. 34. Which king of Judah became king at 8 years old, and later sought to repair the house of the Lord? Josiah, Jehoash, Manasseh, or Amon? Josiah, 2 Chronicles 34:1-10. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years. And they put it in the hand of the workmen that had the oversight of the house of the Lord, and they gave it to the workmen that wrought in the house of the Lord, to repair and amend the house. 35. Which judge of Israel made a vow involving the first thing to come out of his house upon his return? Gideon, Samson, Jephthah, or Samuel? Jephthah, Judges 11:30-31. And Jephthah vowed a vow unto the Lord, and said, If thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into mine hands, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. 36. Who was a king who had a mysterious hand appear and write on his palace wall? Nebuchadnezzar, Darius, Cyrus, or Belshazzar? Belshazzar. Daniel 5:5. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaister of the wall of the king's palace, and the king Belshazzar saw the part of the hand that wrote. 37. What was the primary construction material used by Noah for building the ark? Cedar timber, gopher wood, acacia boards, or fir planks? Gopher wood. Genesis 6:13-14. And God said unto Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Room shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. 38. What was the consequence of Uzzah touching the ark of the covenant to steady it? Stoned to death, warning, death, or beating? Death. 2 Samuel 6:7. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and God smote him there for his error, and there he died by the ark of God. 39. Who prophesied that Ahab would be cut off and dogs would lick his blood? Elisha, Elijah, Hosea, or Micah? Elijah. 1 Kings 21:17-19. And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, and thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Hast thou killed and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, In the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. 40. On Mount Carmel, how did God demonstrate his power in front of the prophets of Baal? Wind howled, earth shook, rain poured, or fire descended? Fire descended. 1 Kings 18:38-39. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice, and the wood and the stones and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces, and they said, "The Lord, he is the God. The Lord, he is the God." 41. Which prophet spoke of a new covenant different from the one made when leading the Israelites out of Egypt? Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, or Hosea? Jeremiah 31:31-32. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord. 42. What was the sign of the covenant between God and Abraham? Rainbow, animal sacrifice, Sabbath, or circumcision? Circumcision. Genesis 17:10-11. This is my God covenant which ye shall keep between me and you, Abraham, and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. 43. Where did Moses strike the rock to bring forth water, as instructed by God, to quench the thirst of the Israelites? Horeb, Sinai, Kadesh, or Meribah? Horeb. Exodus 17:6. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink, and Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. 44. Where was Abraham about to sacrifice Isaac before God intervened and provided a ram? Sinai Mount, Moriah, Carmel Mount, or Olives Mount? Moriah. Genesis 22:2. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. 45. Where did Lot's wife become a salt pillar during Sodom and Gomorrah's destruction? Zoar, Sodom, Bethel, or Hebron? Zoar. Genesis 19:23-26. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven, and he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. 46. What location did Abraham originally set out before arriving in Canaan? Egypt, Babylon, Hebron, or Ur-Chaldees? Ur-Chaldees. Genesis 11:31. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there. 47. Where was David anointed as king over Israel? Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Hebron, or Jezreel? Hebron. 2 Samuel 5:3. So all the elders of Israel came to the king to Hebron, and King David made a league with them in Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. 48. To which land did Moses flee after killing the Egyptian? Canaan, Midian, Edom, or Moab? Midian, Exodus 2:15. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. 49. Where did God appear to Solomon in a dream, offering him anything he wished? Bethel, Gibeon, Jerusalem, or Hebron? Gibeon, 1 Kings 3:5. In Gibeon the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, Ask what I shall give thee. 50. In which city was Samson imprisoned by the Philistines before his final act? Ashkelon, Gath, Ekron, or Gaza? Gaza, Judges 16:21. But the Philistines took him, Samson, and put out his eyes, and brought him down to Gaza, and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. 51. Who was the fourth son of Jacob, from whom the royal tribe of Israel would descend? Judah, Reuben, Simeon, or Levi? Judah, Genesis 29:35. And she, Leah, conceived again and bare a son, and she said, Now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah and left bearing. 52. What did Samson use to slay 1,000 Philistines? Ox goad, bronze dagger, metal spear, or donkey's jawbone? Donkey's jawbone, Judges 15:15-16. And he found a new jawbone of a donkey, then put forth his hand and took it and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, With this jawbone of a donkey, heaps upon heaps with the jaw of a donkey have I slain 1,000 men. 53. Who was the king of Salem and priest of the Most High God who blessed Abraham? Aaron, Melchizedek, Moses, or Abimelech? Melchizedek, Genesis 14:18-19. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God, and he blessed him, and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of the heaven and earth. 54. What was created on the third day of creation? Great lights, sky dome, dry land, or living creatures? Dry land, Genesis 1:9-10, 13. And God said, Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry lands earth, and the evening and the morning were the third day. 55. What was Samson's special strength attributed to? His faith, his hands, his eyes, or his hair? His hair, Judges 16:17. That he, Samson, told her Delilah all his heart, and said unto her, There hath not come a razor upon mine head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. 56. Which of the following rivers was not one of the rivers that flowed from the Garden of Eden? Gihon, Pishon, Jordan, or Hiddekel? Jordan, Genesis 2:11, 13, 14. The name of the first is Pishon, and the name of the second river is Gihon, and the name of the third river is Hiddekel. That is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria, and the fourth river is Euphrates. 57. For what purpose was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego thrown into a fiery furnace? Stealing gold from the king, refusing idol worship, blasphemy against the gods of Babylon, or conspiracy against the king? Refusing idol worship. Daniel 3:18. But if not, be it known unto thee, O King Nebuchadnezzar, that we Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego will not serve thy God, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. 58. Who was sold into slavery by his brothers and later became a ruler of Egypt? Joseph, Isaac, Moses, or Samuel? Joseph. Genesis 45:4-8. And Joseph said unto his brethren, and he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God, and he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. 59. Who wrote many proverbs and songs? David, Solomon, Asaph, or Ezra? Solomon, 1 Kings 4:32, and he Solomon spake 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. 60. Who is recognized for his coat of many colors? Joseph, Samuel, Aaron, or Benjamin? Joseph. Genesis 37:3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. 61. Who led Israel into the promised land after Moses died? Joshua. Joshua 1:1-2. Now after the death of Moses the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses my servant is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. 62. What was Job's response to his suffering? He blessed the name of the Lord. Job 1:21, and said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. 63. What was a sign of the covenant between Noah and God? Bow in the cloud. Genesis 9:12-13. And God said, This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you. For perpetual generations, I, God, do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. 64. Who interpreted Pharaoh's dreams in Egypt? Joseph. Genesis 41:25. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. God hath shewed Pharaoh what he is about to do. 65. Who did God stop from sacrificing his own son? Abraham. Genesis 22:11-12. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. 66. Who wrestled with a man until dawn? Jacob. Genesis 32:24. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. 67. Who became queen of Persia and saved her people? Esther 2:17, and the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. 68. What was placed on Israelites' door frames during Passover in Egypt? Blood. Exodus 12:7, and they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door post of the house, wherein they shall eat it. 69. Who was known for his wisdom? Solomon. 1 Kings 4:29, and God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding exceeding much, and largeness of heart, even as the sand that is on the seashore. 70. Who was swallowed by the earth after rebelling against Moses? Korah. Numbers 16:32, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and all their goods. 71. What fell from heaven as food for the Israelites in the wilderness? Bread or manna. Exodus 16:4. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. 72. Who was commanded to marry a woman of harlotry to illustrate Israel's unfaithfulness? Hosea. Hosea 1:2. The beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea. And the Lord said to Hosea, Go, take unto thee a wife of whoredoms and children of whoredoms, for the land hath committed great whoredom, departing from the Lord. 73. What city's walls fell after Joshua and the Israelites marched around them for 7 days? Jericho. Joshua 6:20. So the people shouted when the priests blew with the trumpets, and it came to pass when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city Jericho. 74. Under what tree did Deborah, wife of Lapidoth, judge Israel? Palm tree. Judges 4:5, and she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in Mount Ephraim, and the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. 75. Who was the woman who drove a tent peg through Sisera's temple? Jael. Judges 4:21. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent, and took an hammer in her hand, and went softly unto him Sisera, and smote the nail into his temples, and fastened it into the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. 76. Who deceived Isaac to receive a blessing intended for his older brother? Jacob. Genesis 27:19. And Jacob said unto his father Isaac, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. 77. To what place was Abram called by God to leave his family and home? Canaan. Genesis 12:5. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. 78. Who was the queen who came from afar to test Solomon's wisdom? Queen of Sheba, 1 Kings 10:1. And when the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to prove him with hard questions. 79. What did Moses' staff become when Aaron cast it on the ground before Pharaoh? Serpent, Exodus 7:10. And Moses and Aaron went unto Pharaoh, and they did so as the Lord had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. 80. In the division of the promised land, what tribe received no inheritance but were given cities to dwell in? Levi, Joshua 13:33. But unto the tribe of Levi Moses gave not any inheritance. The Lord God of Israel was their inheritance, as he said unto them. And then that's all the questions we have for today. So remember, comment your score down below and share this with your friends and family. And then we'll see you in the next one.